you know what? Cinderella just has so many freaking layers. And today I just got off of my weekly call with my group of awesome people, my friends. Donald Stojak talks to interesting people. The recording will be up later today on YouTube, so go check it out if you're not already following. But we were talking about purpose today. And it got me thinking again about Cinderella and my glass slipper method. And what I had said a couple of weeks back to a friend in a breakout room in one of the classes that I was in. And I said, Cinderella has all the power. And they kind of were like, what do you mean Cinderella has all the power? But it's true. As Cinderella, you have all the power. I mentioned last time when I talked about the glass slipper method that the glass slipper in itself is incredibly valuable. It could be a book, it could be literally a slipper or a high-heeled shoe. In my case, a nice little red high-heeled shoe. I mean, if I snap a picture of myself in the red high-heel shoes, I know enough about the internet and about boys out there who happen to like pictures of pretty girls in high heels. And I know I'm not innocent. I know what some people will do. In fact, I was just recently looking at a reel on Facebook. I had my daughter watch the Barbie movie, and I guess the algorithm brought up Margot Robbie's feet and how it's like the obsession with in the movies, they have these close-ups of her feet in heels. And of course, in the Barbie movie, they also have her feet in heels. And she said she had Googled her name and came up with Margot Robbie's feet. So I know that there are people out there that if I put a picture of my foot in a heel, they're gonna click on it. They're gonna enjoy it. But that's the thing about the glass slipper method. And I mentioned this earlier in my last talk about the glass slipper method, that the prince could have very easily taken a look at this slipper and like, nice, I got her shoe. That's something to remember her by. I don't have to go and chase the princess. I'll just go and marry this other woman who's closer and that my father wants me to marry to join our kingdoms or whatever. But I'm always going to remember this slipper and that princess. Like, he could have done that. Seriously, he could have done that. But of course, in the fairy tale, he wants her because like the true love thing, unless you go into the woods, in which case he only wanted her because he wanted her. And once he had her, he didn't value her. So this goes back to Cinderella having all the power, though. Because when you go and you put out your glass slipper in the form of a book or in the form of a course or in the form of an offer or just being your magnificent self, or maybe it's a dating profile. I mean, people can just look at your dating profile, see a nice picture of you in a bikini, and they don't swipe. They're like, I'm just going to save this picture and I'm just going to enjoy this picture. Like, they can do that. Or like, it's for anything that's like you're putting a piece of value out there. Now, there are some people that want more. And this is again with purpose. Why are you sticking your foot into the glass slipper? Are you going to stick your foot into the glass slipper? If somebody says, hey, I just read your book and I want to work with you because one of my actual requirements to work with me now is you got to read my book. If you don't have your homework done and you don't read my book, well, what am I going to do the fine tuning and finding everything? I'm not spending all my time just to help you figure out what you want in your birth plan and answer a million different questions that you could just Google or, hey, figure it out in my book. Like, no, I have now got my purpose so well defined of who I want to work with and the kind of action taking I want from them and the kind of people that I want to surround myself with. that I'm not sticking my foot in just to any glass slipper. Like they bring my glass slipper and they'll say, "Hey, can you put your foot in here?" Or, "Hey, I got your book. Can you give me more? Can you give me more?" It's like, do I want to do that? It's like Cinderella's thing. Do I want to stick my foot in this slipper? Do I want to ride away with this prince? Well, if Cinderella in Into the Woods was smart and she'd actually recognized that she was not really into the prince. I mean, she literally says, "He's a very nice prince. It's a very nice ball. When I entered, they trumpeted, but the prince, oh, right, the prince. Well, he's tall. Is that all?" And of course, the baker's wife is all into it. It's like she thinks this is some romantic thing. And Cinderella's like, "We did nothing but dance, and it made a nice change. He is time for a prince, I guess. I don't mean a wide range, and it's all very strange." And you look at that, it's like she's really, really not sold on this prince. But of course, everybody thinks Cinderella wants to marry the prince. Like that's just like the baker's wife can't understand. It's like, I don't understand. You were little maid, you went out, you went to this ball, you're dancing with this prince, and oh, I would love to dance with this prince. And why aren't you more like besotted with this prince? And Cinderella's like, it's like, it's not really my thing. And in the end of the movie, of course, it really isn't her thing. And she ends up with the baker's, like the baker, because the baker's wife is like, she dies. Okay. Spoiler, she dies. Lots of people die in that movie. It's an awesome movie though. I freaking love Into the Woods. It's just so good. And I love the Disney version because it's got Anna Kendrick, and Anna Kendrick is one of my favorite actresses. But like the thing is that she's not into the prince. So it's like when somebody says, "Oh, go and do this thing and you'll make a lot of money." Well, maybe that's not actually your purpose. And that's not tied to your value. I mean, yeah, it's a great idea. Like, awesome, making a lot of money. Or awesome, if I go on this date with this guy that everybody wants, I mean, maybe it'll lead to something. Maybe I'll marry him, but like you're not into him. It's just, well, he looks good on paper. I mean, I already made that mistake once. And I know that even though somebody looks good on paper, if you don't actually know what you're getting, it's either going to be incredibly toxic or it's just not going to fit long term. And you're going to be like, wow, like I really have to work at just liking this. It's just like I should like this, but I don't. Or it's like if you're being told all your life that you need to go to college and like you're going to get a good job from that, and then you actually go and you recognize that you more love the joy of learning more than you actually care about getting a degree. Like it's all tied to values and purpose. What is the reason? What is the actual purpose of why you're doing this? So I mean, for back to the Cinderella, what is the purpose of her putting her foot in that glass slipper? Is it just to marry the prince and to live in a nice castle and to get away from her wicked stepmother? But she doesn't actually love the prince and it doesn't bring her any joy, and she's not actually happy, even though she's got all the riches now and she's like a princess. She wasn't happy. Or is it the other Cinderella, the one I love so much, the one that is with Lily James and Richard Madden, and the reason she sticks her foot in the glass slipper is not because she gets to be a princess. She doesn't even care about that. In fact, before she just wanted to go to the ball because she knew that Kit lived in the palace. She thought he was an apprentice because he never actually told her who he really was. Like when she met him in the woods and she's asking about him, he's like, "Oh, you don't know who I am?" And she's like, "Should I?" Like she had no idea who he was. And he was so enchanted by that, the fact that she didn't see a rich, powerful, noble person or prince or whatever, like all the other women probably would have known. She'd just seen someone who was out there hunting this beautiful, beautiful, I think it was either an elk or a deer. And she's like, you know what? Like, I looked into his eyes and I knew he had a life to live, and I don't want you hunting him. So promise you won't hurt him. And he said, I promise I won't hurt him. And she seemed to warm up to him, but she had no idea who he was. And he asked about her. And of course, she's not dressed fancy or anything. She's just this little peasant. And he knows she's just this little farm country girl. And she's so simple, she doesn't even know that he's the prince. But he's enchanted by her because she's saying, you need to have courage and be kind. And he'd never heard that, but he felt it in his heart. So the reason she stuck her foot in that slipper and became a princess wasn't because she wanted all the glory. In fact, she didn't really think that she belonged in that world, but she loved him. And she's like, I get to spend the rest of my life making the world a better place with the man I love. Like, that was why she stuck her foot in the slipper. That was Cinderella's purpose. That was Ella's purpose. And why she also, in her purpose, was, I'm not going to allow my stepmother to manipulate this. I would rather stay up in my tower, and maybe there will be a different way. Maybe a miracle will happen. Something will happen. I mean, I already had the fairy godmother. She already came. So maybe that'll happen again. So I'm not going to make a deal with the devil, basically. So when you think about that, it's like, what is the purpose behind you sticking your foot in a glass slipper for somebody? What is the purpose of accepting that client? What is the purpose of putting out that glass slipper in the first place? What's the purpose of writing the book? I have a very clear purpose in how I wanted to write this book. And I knew before I even started writing this book what that purpose was. This is not a regular, typical childbirth book. In fact, it's not really a birth book at all, despite the title. What it is I had seen over and over again that people were doing things without actually being clear of their purpose. What is the reason why you're going for that test? Well, because that's just what you do, and that's what the doctor says to do. So that's what I have to do in order to have a healthy baby. Why? Well, that's because that's what we're supposed to do. Do you want it? Well, no, I don't really want it. Do you think it's actually necessary? No, but they say it's necessary, so I should probably do it. I don't play that game. I don't play that game. So I kept seeing this over and over. Well, why are you going to the hospital instead of home birth if you really want a home birth? Well, because my partner doesn't feel comfortable with me having a baby at home. And, I just want to make them feel comfortable. Like, but yeah, but you don't want it. Well, no, I don't, but I guess it'll be okay. No, you don't want it. Like, why are you doing something you don't actually want to do? Like, you really need to understand, you need to be clear here. What is the actual purpose of doing this? Well, I don't really know. I mean, I'm just told I have to follow this, so I'm going to follow this. It's like when we go to college. It's like, why did we go to college? Well, I don't know. My parents said I need to go to college to get a good job, and I'm just doing it. There were a lot of students in my class that had absolutely no joy of learning whatsoever. In fact, there was a guy in my children's lit class, and I thought that, like, oh, sweet, there's another guy that's into books. No, he took it because he needed an extra class, and he figured it would be easy, and that it would just add to his thing so that people wouldn't say, oh, you're slacking, and it's an easy A, and all he has to do, and he actually said this, and it was such a turnoff. It's like, I thought he was cute before, but when he said this, I was just like, okay, you actually don't get the joy of this class. You don't understand about literature. You're not taking this apart. He's like, I don't know. I'll make something up about feminism and like just pull a bit of stuff off the internet and then I'll get an A. And I'm like, you don't actually care about the material. You don't actually care about these books. You don't care about the story. You don't care enough to take this apart and understand. And you're just like blasé about feminism. Like, what the hell? It was awful. But that was his purpose was I'm taking this class just to coast through and not do any work. He didn't get an A, by the way. In fact, I had to work really, really hard to get my A with that particular professor. I think she was on to those people who were taking her class just to coast through. And she was a hard grader. So when I got that A, my purpose was I am going to do everything I can to put my magnificence and genius in there and have fun with this, but I also want that A. And when you look at that purpose of what are you doing this for? Why did I write this book? Very simple. I got sick and tired of the moms thinking that they had to just do something just because it was policy. And I get into these arguments all of the time in the mom groups where it's like, well, I mean, the IV is there for policy, so they want you to do it for safety. And it's like, yeah, no, there's another way. You don't actually have to do that. No, you don't actually have to have that thing that you're dreading and you're having anxiety about. You actually don't have to have that. And it's like that weight lifts off their shoulders the second you tell them, actually, that thing that you're dreading, that you think that you have to have just because other people told you had to do it that way, you don't actually have to do it that way. You can make your own way. Like, it's freedom. It's like living your life. And it's like, oh, actually, you don't have to live your life that way. Actually, you can create your dreams the way that you want them. This book is a dream creator. So what I did with it was like, I want this book to be available to any mom who needs it. I want this book to be in the hands of every mother who wants to have control of her birth. Because so many, and myself included, thought once you get pregnant, you have like no agency and you just have to do everything the doctor tells you to do, even if you don't want to do it. And I wanted to create something to show it's like, instead of constantly having to go back to the experts to ask what your options are, what if we didn't have to do that? It came back to give a man a fish. He's hungry. He's not hungry for a day. Teach a man to fish and he'll be set for life. And I wanted to teach all the moms basically how to fish, because instead of constantly bombarding their doulas or their midwives with all the little questions to try to make a decision for themselves when they don't actually feel okay with their decision, because other people can't decide for you what's best for you. They just can't. Other people can't tell you what path is going to lead to success. They can show you maps. They can show you possibilities. They can show you steps that have worked for many people in the past. But if it doesn't work for you, it is okay to find a different map. And that's what I had my purpose. What I teach and everything is creating your own map. And this book actually tells people how to create their own map. Map for birth, but I mean, I'm going to be creating more in the future. So back to the metaphor. Why are you sticking your foot in the glass slipper? What's the purpose of it? Why are you hiring somebody to do something for you? What is the purpose of that? And if you're hiring somebody to do something for you or help you with something, what is the overall purpose that you want to focus on when you are looking for that specific person. Because you need somebody who's actually aligned with your intentions. I will not just hire any old VA or whatever. If I want somebody to edit my videos, I'm going to pick somebody who actually understands my process and what I'm trying to do before I let them touch my stuff. It's like, even when I was going into my house fire, and people said, oh, you could hire somebody to go through your stuff for you. Yeah, I could, but would they know what's important to me? Like, let me just ask you the question. If somebody said your house is going to burn down, there's a forest fire behind your neighborhood, and all the houses in this area are going to be wiped out, and you have exactly 1 hour to pack. Now, we do have people available who will pack for you. Would you like to hire one of those people to pack for you so you can do something else that you need to do quickly to get your things in order? Now, here's the thing. These people are not going to know what's most important to you. And I want you to think about that for a minute. If you only had an hour to pack the most important things and everything else is going to be wiped out, what are you grabbing and where is it? Now, how likely is it that somebody else that is just random is going to know exactly those things to grab? Purpose. What's the purpose? Why are you doing the thing? Is it, I just have to do everything myself, or I need to make sure that this thing gets done, and I am the only one who knows how to do this one thing and make sure that it's done in this way? Why? That's why I went into my burned house. That's why I cleaned out all of the stuff myself. I faced my fear. I looked at all the destruction, and I did it because there were certain things in there that I knew were important. And why do I stick my foot in certain glass slippers and then I say no to other ones? Purpose, again. I have all the power here. I can stick my foot into this shoe or I cannot. Now, I'm going to ask you the question. What are you going to do if somebody hands you a glass slipper and they say, put your foot into it? Are you going to ride away with that unknown person, that unknown prince that you're not really into? Or are you looking at that person as like, that is the one? Or in your clients, if somebody says, I want to work with you and I'll pay you X amount of money, are you going to take it just because it looks good on paper? Or do you have an actual purpose and reason why you're taking it? Because let me just tell you something. If you don't know where you're going, you're going to crash into a brick wall. If you don't know where you're going, you're not going to end up anywhere where you're likely to be happy, because it'll have no meaning. It's like going and getting a giant house when you don't actually find joy in having a giant house, but everybody else says you should have a giant house. No, do what makes you happy. Do what makes you happy in your purpose. Same with the birth, your empowered birth. Why do women choose to have an unassisted birth and choose not to be touched? Well, because we have certain things, certain values. We value our freaking autonomy. And we don't want anybody else messing with us. And there's certain traumas we want to avoid. Why did I create my 5-pillar system and have it so versatile? Because birth isn't the only step. because I have a purpose, a deeper purpose that will continue to get unveiled in time. And some people have figured it out, and others have sort of figured it out. And I don't always tell everything. But I mean, I have a huge vision here. And even the purpose of this is to ask you that question because I want to get you thinking. This isn't just for entertainment. This isn't just to have you hear me talk. And I'm not just doing this because I like to hear myself talk. I'm doing this because I want you to go deeper. I want you to go deeper. Hey, if you want to go and riff off of this and say, hey, there was this one quote in this one long video and she said this and it got me thinking this and this, do it. Seriously, do it. Okay? Just please quote me. Please quote me. Don't steal my stuff. Because if you take credit for my stuff without actually crediting me, I kind of don't like plagiarism. There was a whole incident way back in my 20s when somebody actually tried to take some of my stuff and pretend it was theirs. Don't do that. Don't do that. You can build off of my stuff, and I build off of a lot of other people's stuff, and I will credit them. But make sure that you make it your own, because my purpose is different from your purpose. Why are you resharing it? Are you sharing it with integrity because you're recognizing that you can go deeper and you can impart some wisdom? Or are you sharing this just to look smart and cool and have people think that you made up the stuff? Because if you're trying to do that, that mask slips. But I know you're not going to do that because you're following me and you love me and I love you. And if you're in my community and you're in my friend circle, well, I don't keep those kinds of people in my friend circle. I kick them out very quickly. I figure that out because just like with the glass slipper method, I know how to get people to tell on themselves. Maybe that will be a part 3. I don't know. But I'm starting to feel sleepy and I need to go and take a nap because I am sick and this cold has been dragging on, and sleep is the antidote to like sickness. Plus I get a whole bunch of trippy dreams and it's awesome. All right. I love you and thank you so much for watching. And I love soapboxing on here. This is my favorite thing to do, just imparting little bits of wisdom. It'll probably end up in a book at some point. I don't know when. I just know that if you got some value out of this, just send me some love. And if you got some ideas, go put more ideas out into the world, because you know what? We're here to spread wisdom. You don't know how long you've got to live. Could get hit by a bus tomorrow. We could have a meteor just hit the earth tomorrow. So impart that wisdom. Spread it. I love you.